What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be going over Braxiphone's Fugue early access and first impressions video that he uploaded yesterday. Generally on the channel, we already have a pre-release guide already cooked up by the time the early access footage starts coming out. But since it's the holidays and I've had some personal family stuff to take care of, I haven't had the time to do it. So we're going to be reacting to Braxiphone's first impressions video, and we're going to be putting in my typical analysis and some calculations here and there whenever I feel like they are necessary. That being said, if you like this type of content, let me know by liking the video, leaving a comment in the comment section below, and consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. All right, we're not going to react to the entirety of Brax's video. It's a very long video. I recommend you check it out by yourself. I'm only going to chip in the areas that I feel like a little bit more information or added information would be beneficial for people that actually want it. So that's enough yapping for me. Let's get right into it.
A 4-star light cone. This is resolution shines as pearls of sweat. Every time I play this character, I think she's a harmony for some reason in my head, but then I go to her light cones and I'm like, oh yes, these are all nihility light cones. This light cone shreds enemy defense, which is super great on basically every single nihility in the game. And there are other light cones you can use as well, but this one is probably going to be your best option, your best case scenario.
Okay, so speaking of 4-star light cones, I really recommend just two options. If you have as he said, resolution chance of pearls of sweat is a fantastic light cone. If you have that light cone, that's probably going to end up being your best 4-star option. However, tutorial mission light cone, which is the one you see up here, the Silver Wolf 4-star one, which is 100% free to play. You can get it from the Herder shop. That light cone is actually very, very strong, and I'm going to explain why in a little bit. I want to see if he mentions anything extra about effect hit rate or anything like that.
But Eyes of the Prey is also okay because it has some effect hit rate, so if you superimpose this, it can be decent. You are going to need effect hit rate on this character. Her signature light cone gives...
Okay, so he did mention that you are going to need effect hit rate, but exactly how much effect hit rate are you going to need? Well, for that, we're going to refer to my little handy dandy spreadsheet, which I have right here. So if you pay attention to this little square right here, you are going to need around a 68% effect hit rate to land the 100% chance of landing the debuff on an enemy that has about 40% resist to debuff, which is essentially every late game boss enemy is going to have around 40% chance to resist the debuff. Now you can achieve this via various ways. The chest plus, actually this is no trace. Like let's say you have the chest and 25% in subs, you can reach that. You can have the chest and the the tutorial mission light cone, which I mentioned, gives you energy and also give you effect hit rate. This gives you, I think it gives you around 40% effect hit rate. So that'll be more than enough to land the debuff, which makes it very easy. You don't have to really stress that much to get substats on effect hit rate. If you just run the chest and the light cone, you really don't need any subs at all. However, if you're not going to use the tutorial mission and you're going to go for her signature light cone or for the resolution shines pearls of sweat light cone, then I recommend just getting like 2 or 3 pieces that have around 12% effect hit rate each, and that should give you around 25% effect hit rate extra, and then totaling 68% effect hit rate will give you the chance to get the debuff. Now, why do I keep mentioning tutorial mission light cone? That only gives you energy and only gives you effect hit rate, right? And her ultimate is actually her worst part of the kit. Arguably, the worst part of her kit is Tingyun's ultimate or Fugue's ultimate. I'm only mentioning this because people that are going to go for her E2 are going to extremely benefit from having tutorial mission light cone instead of resolution shines pearls of sweat because of the frequency of her ultimate. If you're able to fire off her ultimate every other turn, you are going to trigger that 24% action advantage, which is essentially a second dance on your team if you already run a dance on your Ruan Mei or your Harmony Trailblazer. For break teams, action advances are incredibly strong because they want to go more times. Like break teams only care about speed and break effect, and action advance is kind of like having extra speed. So that's why tutorial mission is actually very strong on a character like E2 Fugue. All right, back to the video.
Break effect to her, and when an enemy gets their weakness broken, it has a chance to apply debuff to that enemy that increases their break damage taken, which is different from your break effect multiplier itself. So
okay, regarding the light cone, so her light cone is actually very good for the type of character that Tingyun is. However, it is not a game-breaking light cone. I argue that if you are going to get either the S1 or the E1 is by miles and it's miles ahead of the light cone. You don't need the 60 break effect really, because if you want to max out her talent at 220, you're only getting a little bit of you're only getting about 36% extra break effect from maxing out your Tingyun. So you don't really get that massive of a buff for the investment. However, her E1 is essentially essentially making her a second Ruan Mei, really. The 36% break vulnerability is actually very good as well, especially if you are running Lean Sha and Lean Sha's Light Cone, or if you are running somebody like Gallagher with Lean Sha's Light Cone. An extra 36% vulnerability is very, very good there as well. But this Light Cone, comparatively to Resolution Challenge Process Sweat and Tutorial Mission Light Cone, that doesn't hold as much value as just getting her E1. So hopefully that makes a little sense.
Break damage taken does help a fair bit, but honestly, you don't even really need her signature light cone. It's going to be decent,
Yeah.
but you have a lot of other options, including Resolution Shines' Pearls of Sweat, which in my opinion is going to be the best 4-star for her. As for relics,
Unless you're going for E2, in my opinion, if you have E2 Fugue, swap over the resolutions for the tutorial mission, and then fire off ultimates every other turn, and your break team is going to just go crazy, really.
giving her break sets, and also caught Agni Lantern for the extra speed and for the extra break effect against fire weak enemies, which you may end up using her against a lot. Lastly, Max Trace.
Okay, and regarding her sets, so definitely Cavalry is going to be her best set, but you can also go for the Thief set because she is going to be breaking enemies regardless of the enemy's typing, but I don't really consider Thief set to be that great on her. The two top sets is definitely going to be the Cavalry set because she does trigger Super Break herself, so every time she has it, she can use it. Essentially, she's not like, for instance, Boothill that he needs either HMC or Fugue herself to enable Super Break for her to use it. The 25% Super Break defense down, coupled with the 16% from Resolution Challenge Process Sweat, coupled with the 18% from her own skill, it adds up really, really substantially. You end up with over 50% defense down, which is really, really good on a character like Fugue because she will be doing some super break damage as well. Now, her second best set, in my opinion, is going to be the Wind set. It's nobody surprised the Wind set, especially if you have her E2. So if you have her E2, I recommend going for the Wind set with the tutorial mission Light Cone, and your Fugue is just going to fuel your team with speed. It's going to just battery and keep pushing your team forward with the added on dance. Your team is just going to go crazy. It just is. It doesn't matter if you're doing a little bit less damage with the defense downs and stuff, because you're going to go so much more often that the damage is just going to outweigh the defense downs.
And Eidolon 0. Alright, so here I'm running a bit of an unconventional team where I'm actually not running a main damage dealer. Well, I am, but their role doesn't show that they're a damage dealer, which I think is really funny. So, let me just show you what we're cooking.
Yeah, Lin Chia is incredibly underrated as a DPS.
Actually built very fast.
Even I
She
underrated
actually
her.
has a ton of speed, especially when you account for Ruan Mei. For those of you
Now, it's really good that he mentioned Ruan Mei. The extra 10% speed and the break effect that she gains from Ruan Mei is actually very, very beneficial. And if you go a little bit further and we talk about her E1, because honestly, for Fugue, I like to talk about her E1 because her E1 makes her pretty much a second Ruan Mei, and her E1 and Ruan Mei on the same team make any character in the game a colorless breaker, a universal breaker. They make any character be able to break toughness bars regardless of the type. And actually, I'm gonna pull out the Excel spreadsheet here. Let's take a look at it like this. Let's say you are going to do a normal attack that has, and I want you guys to focus on this part over here. Let's say you are doing the base toughness of 10, right? But let's say you are not doing any because you're off element, right? Since you're off element, essentially you're doing 0, right? You're not doing any extra toughness damage because you're not on element. Fugue makes it to where you're on element for 50% efficiency of what you were supposed to do. So if it was 10, you're going to be doing 5, right? Let me put this at 0, right? You're going to be doing 5 toughness. Now remember, the E1 Fugue gives you 50% break efficiency, and Ruan Mei also gives you 50% break efficiency for a total of 100% break efficiency, which brings your base toughness from 5 to 10, which is your original base toughness. So this means that Ruan Mei and Fugue E1 or E1 Fugue make any single character a colorless breaker at 100% efficiency, which in my opinion, this combo right here, it's going to make a lot of characters clear, even though they're off their element, if that makes any sense. To me, this warrants the E1. To me, this is enough for me to want to pull the E1. I'm going to go for E2. A little disclaimer, I'm going to go for Fugue Z2. But her E1 is probably the most important part in my opinion. That 50% weakness break efficiency is just insanity.
Wondering what Fugue does. Fugue does a couple different things. First off, take Harmony Trailblazer's kit where you can add
Something with Fugue skill. So once you put Fugue's buff on on a random ally, that ally is going to get the ability of implanting a debuff, which means that if you have Fugue running Resolution Chance Pearls of Sweat, she's going to inflict defense down on enemies. Now, if you put the buff on somebody else, that second character, the second ally, is also going to have the ability to implant a debuff via Fugue. So why is this important? Because characters like Dr. Ratio, characters like Acheron that need characters to infuse or inflict debuffs, Fugue actually enables this to happen more times. So between Fugue and the secondary or the buffed up character, you have two separate instances of defense down. For Acheron, that means two stacks. So one for when Fugue goes, one for when the other ally goes. So whenever you use Fugue in an Acheron team, you really don't want to put the buff on Acheron. You want to put it, let's say, on Aventurine, right? And then have Aventurine's basic attacks and follow-ups give the enemies another defense down, giving Acheron another stack. So this is a nice little tech that Fugue has that I don't see a lot of people talking about, really.
And when you break their original toughness, then you can hit the exo toughness. Now,
All right, so exo toughness is very, very important. And one of the things that exo toughness does for a team is enable sustainless comps to be very, very easy to run. Because not only does Fugue give you an extra break damage instance, it also grants you an extra 15% delay on top of the initial breaks bars 25% delay that you get from breaking the enemy in the first place. So you break the initial bar, you get 25% delay. You break the secondary bar, you get an extra 15% delay. And then all that is not the second one, but the first 25% delay gets amplified depending on what element did the breaking. But that's besides the point. Essentially, just by Fugue being on the field and breaking that exo toughness, your break delay goes from 25 to 40, which is a very, very big difference. Now, when you couple this with Ruan Mei, for example, she gets extra delay as well. And then also when they regain their turn, they get broken one more time and they get delayed one more time. So Fugue and Ruan Mei together as a combo are pretty much a catalyst for the easiest sustainless comms that you are ever going to be able to run. Now, speaking of the exo toughness, right? So exo toughness essentially deals with this break formula right here. It really doesn't do much in this area, right? It deals with the initial break formula, and what it does is it allows you to redo this twice. So essentially what's going to be is these three, but 2 times, because by breaking the second bar, you're going to trigger everything else twice. So it's going to be, so this is going to equal this times 2, and then the same thing for the other 2. So if you're going to AoE break everybody twice, right, you're going to go from doing 296,000 damage to 592,000 damage just by adding a secondary toughness bar. Characters that benefit greatly from this is Himiko is going to be Rappa, because Rappa gets energy from breaking, and our boy Boothill. Boothill is one of the beneficiaries from both Sunday and Fugue, so that's why I say 2.7 is Boothill's patch, because he gets a buff from Fugue and Sunday. Fugue buffs Boothill tremendously. It's like insane the amount of buffs that our boy Boothill gets from Fugue, and this is one of them. Probably the biggest damage amplifying one is going to be the exo toughness, because Boothill can actually trigger that break twice, and that makes it incredibly strong. That's why exo toughness was one of the best MOC buffs or turbulences that we got for our boy Boothill, and now we're going to be able to use it anytime we want if we have a Fugue.
I did want to include both Fugue and Harmony MC on the same team. And the reason is because Super Break, some people think of Fugue as a replacement for Harmony MC. And that is totally
and she
okay.
is.
That can happen.
Yep.
That can work. But when you take 2 characters that both apply their own separate instances of Super Break, you actually get 2 instances of Super Break. It doesn't just stack up and add up to one thing. It doesn't overwrite the other. Both Super Breaks will proc, and you will see 2 Super Breaks go off with Ruan Mei's basic attack.
Okay, this is 100% correct. Every instance of Super Break triggers independently of the other. However, if he remember how he said that he didn't want to try it with Rappa or with Firefly, had he brought Firefly or Rappa into this team and he would have triggered a Super Break with them, it would have triggered 3 Super Breaks, because Rappa and Firefly have their own. So I'm kind of glad he kind of made it simpler by just not bringing them, because whenever they do an attack, they have so many damage instances that you just can't really tell how many Super Breaks there are. But essentially, yeah, every instance of super break triggers independently of its own. And if you want to go back to the Excel spreadsheet here, just imagine this little column right here just triggering 2 or 3 times, because you trigger this Rappa super break, you trigger HMC super break, and then you're going to trigger Fugue super break as well, which is essentially a subset of this one. Like, it's a little bit more than this one. So it'll be 3 different instances of super break that trigger with Rappa and or Firefly, for example.
Boom. So 2 super breaks that both went off at the same time. This means that instead of running Ruan Mei with Firefly or Rappa, you can actually just go ahead and run Harmony Trailblazer and Fugue together, and you get 2 super breaks, which is pretty crazy.
Or you can just take out you can take out Ling Sha and then run Rappa and Firefly and run a Sustainless comp, because Sustainless comps with this particular setup, especially if you have Harmony MC breaking enemies as well with the extra imaginary delay, or Rappa breaking them with the extra imaginary delay, yeah, enemies aren't taking a turn. Once you break them, they're dead. They're gonna die. They're never gonna recover that bar again.
Gonna lie. All right, so that's 223k damage from Ling
I regret
Sha's
not pulling
By the way,
Ling
if
Sha.
you're wondering what light code I'm using on Ling Sha, just for reference, this is post-op conversation. What this is useful for, in my opinion, is if you're trying to save yourself a cycle, you can use this early to break, or make it so you can break enemies faster, or you can save it for the following cycle if you're just gonna wander 0 cycle it.
Yeah, if you're going to do what he's doing right now, saving your ultimate for the next round is good and all. You get the extra break, toughness break or toughness damage on the enemies. But this is especially powerful when you have her E2. And I'm pretty sure he's about to do it, because it seems like he's going to save his ultimate. He's still on the 0 cycle window. But if you essentially save her ultimate and you use it frame 1 of the second wave, you're essentially triggering a dance at frame 0. So you're going to get full action advance, full 24% action advance on frame 0, which is insanely strong. And then also, if you save up, let's say for instance, Harmony MC's ultimate as well with also a dance, that's a 48% action value increase by just firing off those 2 ultimates frame 0 or back to back, which is incredibly strong. In this particular scenario where he's using it right now, it's good still, because you're still doing extra toughness damage, but not as great as if you were to do it at E2 Fugue.
So I'm actually going to save that because I don't need it right now. Huge bunny damage and Harmony Trailblazer damage. Now I'm gonna.
That's a lot of damage.
That way we get the bunny right away.
See, this would be a perfect scenario. They're all about to die, right? They're all about to die, and he has Fugue and HMC's ultimate up at the same time. If both had dance, or if Fugue was E2 and then Harmony MC had dance, I think the 0 cycle with this particular team setup would have been great. Would have been more than doable.
Bunny gonna come out, do another 229k, and as a reminder, we get 2 instances of super break. I'm gonna go ahead and just basic attack with Tingyun, and then right at the start of the next wave, I should be able to just use her ultimate.
Yeah, it would have been. See how he did both HMC's and Fugue ultimate right here. Had Fugue been E2, this would have been a beautiful way to start this. Because essentially, look at you. Like, you're 1 action value away from the little TV. So if you action advance yourself by about 50%, you're probably going to overtake. You're probably not going to overtake the big TV, but you're going to overtake the rest for sure.
Super dice. Here we go. And if you guys want to watch this in slow-mo, just so you can see the effects of it, because it is quite nice. It's a pretty ultimate. And Jiao Shou. Surprise Jiao Shou.
Nice ultimate.
No, that's
nice
a beautiful ultimate animation, though. We did some break, you know. Now it is her turn to reapply her skill. All right, so okay, now that you've seen the damage you can do with a support, what kind of teams are you running? Well, you don't actually have to run that team that I just ran. I was just running that to show you that you can clear with an abundance character with these 3 supports, but you're usually only going to use 2 and you're going to use a break character. Right?
You also don't need to run her necessarily on break teams, even though she is made for break teams. She works incredibly well with Acheron, and then she works really well with Dr. Ratio as well.
Right, most of you guys are playing Firefly, Rappa, Boot Hill, other characters like that. So the first team that I want to showcase is a Firefly team with Trailblazer and Ling Sha. Now,
insane
again,
team.
I could have cleared with Firefly, but
this team should clear absolutely everything. I would replace Trailblazer with Ruan Mei though.
in my full guide. Again, I could have cleared with Firefly, but I thought it was funny.
Incredibly strong
You'll see
team.
plenty of footage
Very,
of
very good
Firefly,
team.
Linkshaw, and Rob.
To be honest, in this team, I would just remove Linkshot and put Ron May in there. And then you can run this Sustainless, and then you'll beat everything in the game and like 0 cycle.
And stuff in my full guide. I do want to say though that when I was clearing with Firefly, it took me 3 or 4 cycles on my multiple runs. Linkshaw took 2, and one time she took 3.
This is probably because he was running E0 Firefly, and then Firefly also doesn't hit everyone. Linkshot does. And the particular boss he was trying to run it with, benefits more if you hit everybody at once instead of just 3 people.
So I'm not saying Linkshot is better than Firefly, but you'll have a real easy time if you use this sustainer that cleanses everything with the other supports. Now, I do want to show you guys some characters that Fugue works very well with. In my opinion, Firefly.
Why is Boothill not here? Hey, we already know it's not a iSUMMON video if we are not glazing our boy Boothill. Yes, all these characters, especially Rappa, they all benefit tremendously from Fugue. They all do. But in my opinion, the one that benefits the most is going to be, it's in between Fugue or Boothill. Because that extra exo toughness, one, if you don't break them both with the same attack, let's say it's a big boss like Hule, and you break the main bar with the first hit, you can get actually 2 stacks from, you can actually get 2 pocket trick shots for Boothill with 1 enemy, which is very, very strong. You also trigger his extra break. You trigger it twice. You trigger all of Boothill's attacks. You trigger it twice. And it's insanely strong. I don't think anything will survive Boothill and Fugue and Sunday.
Is going to be one of the best, especially because she applies fire weakness.
Hopefully he mentions our boy Boothill in this video. Like, it's a W if he mentions Boothill.
When you could just have the full weakness break, but Rappa also works great as well. And in my opinion, Fugue was actually made more for Rappa, but just also works very well with Firefly. And the reason is because Rappa's
that is 100% true.
Toughness, being able to break,
but he was actually made for Boothill. Let's just get that straight.
Way faster. I believe the stacks are charged, by the way. There's not like a Himiko stack system or anything, but it's going to help Rappa do a ton more damage. And
Zwei, Sunday, and Boothill. I mean, Zwei, Sunday, and Fugue is also going to be insanely strong. And Himiko also, yeah. All right, I think from this here on out, I don't think there's anything else I'm going to add to this video. Honestly, Fugue is not a character that essentially needs a lot of explaining. She's very straightforward. She has a lot of buffs that we've seen before. The only thing we haven't seen before is the exo toughness, but we've had it in game. So it's not like we don't know what they do and what the effects of it can be. So I don't think I need to go too crazy on the explanations on Fugue. I think Brax did a fantastic job covering the most important parts, and then wherever I felt that he needed a little bit more in-depthness or a little bit more extra information, I chipped in wherever I could. But this is overall fantastic video. I apologize you guys for not having my own pre-release guide this time around. Hopefully the next time around I don't have so much stuff in real life to take care of, and I'll be able to provide you with a banger guide as always. But let me know if you enjoy this type of react video. Maybe we can do some more react to more extra guides, or just react to overall like HSR or gacha content. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think, and until next time guys, see ya.